Welcome to Arkansas Wildlife. It's our final episode of the 2016 fall and winter season. We're going to head out for some rabbit hunting and check in with Clifton Jackson, the Arkansas Game and Fish Commission's small game wildlife biologist. After that rabbit hunt, we're going to head over to Maddie's place in Little Rock and check in with Chef Brian Deloney, who's going to make us some rabbit and dumplings. But first, we're going over to East Arkansas for a snow goose conservation order hunt from last year. We'll discuss the reasons a conservation order is necessary and also experience the thrill of a vortex of white geese overhead while you're lying on your back in the middle of an empty field. All that, plus it's the final episode of the year, so this week we're going to announce the winner of the 2016 grand prize, lifetime hunting and fishing license, and $1,000 in sporting good gift cards. All that's coming up right after this break.
Arkansas Wildlife is brought to you in part by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price, every day. Academy.
Several years ago now, back through the 90s, folks who worked in the Arctic, subarctic and the Arctic, started to notice impacts from feeding geese on the Arctic habitat. They were kind of eating themselves out of house and home in a few places, and with the harvest that was happening with just regular hunting seasons, it wasn't thought to be adequate to start reducing the population, to slow population growth and start actually reducing snow goose populations throughout the mid-continent. That's why the conservation order came into being. So we've known for years and years and years we've used hunting as a wildlife management tool. And this is just a unique case of trying to use hunters as a tool to implement population control. But you can also use other tools not allowed in regular hunting seasons. Like for migratory bird hunting, you have to have a plug in your shotgun. You don't have to have that with the conservation order. You can use electronic calls. You can hunt a half hour past sunset instead of the normal stop time of sunset for all migratory bird hunting. So a few liberalizations like that. Again, no bag limits, no possession limits. So the idea is to try to maximize harvest as much as possible. You know, the first time I ever did it was, I guess, around 2000 when I went with some friends up to Saskatchewan and snow goose hunted. And I think I've been hooked on it ever since. The snow goose hunting is just something totally different than any other type of waterfowl hunting. It's a spectacle of the number of birds. It's just a really unique experience when you get out there amidst a whole bunch of white decoys and get in an area where you know you're going to see thousands upon thousands of birds on any given day. Snow goose hunters, all hunters and fishermen, outdoorsmen are tinkerers. They always mess with stuff all the time. And I think snow goose hunters take that to a really, really high level. You're constantly messing around with different decoys. I mean, you're putting flappers out, you're taking them down, you're spinning the vortex machines or you're turning them off. You're putting these kites up, these little styrofoam things flopping around. You get the old jack kite. It's been around for years and years and years. You're trying all these different things to see which one actually works on that given day with those given conditions. They nest in huge colonies in the Arctic, so they're a bird that's constantly around hundreds and thousands of its own species, through all phases of the year. So when they're down here, it's no different. They're in flocks of thousands upon thousands. So when you start thinking about decoy numbers, you've got to get somewhere close to that. You know, a lot of people still hunt with full body decoys, guides, people who maybe leave more permanent spreads and hunt the migration. Still highly effective, but a lot of these other decoys allow guys like me and others that don't hunt like that move around a lot, to have these spreads of 1,000 decoys, but be able to deploy them in a short amount of time, pick them up in a short amount of time, be mobile, These decoys provide a lot of really cool motion. You know, they bounce around a lot in the wind, which I think adds a lot of realism to it. They're a different bird to watch them work the decoys than say working mallards. They really do things vertically. You know, when you're laying under a spread and you're looking up, you got white decoys all around you, and the birds start hooking up to work the spread. And yeah, they'll swing downwind and they'll do all those normal things duck hunters think about. But they really like to, it's almost like when they're really wanting to finish, they do so much of their circling, it just seems like it's just right directly above you. That they really then finally decide to commit. A lot of their commitment is dropping vertically. I did have a young dog out with me on that particular day, and was paying close attention to him, and had a real rookie move, and stopped paying attention to him, and first hunt of any kind really for him, and which was my mistake, of course. But that first flock of geese didn't fully commit, even though they were really close. And noticed there was a yellow lab running around out in the decoys at that point. A little embarrassing moment for the dog handler, dog owner at that point, but we did fortunately have a few more flocks follow up after that that did commit the rest of the way. This day we maybe expected more migrating birds than what we actually got, and it ended up being more of a, the birds came out, those waves of birds coming off the roost, that first look for a feeding field, first thing in the morning is what we got into. And we had, you know, I remember having a bunch of birds hook up pretty early and start working the spread. So yeah, I think with the conservation order, our perspective of what's a successful hunt has changed a lot. If there's not a huge pile of white geese at the end of the day, we all of a sudden look at that as being an unsuccessful hunt. To me, it's all about how many good groups of geese you can get to fully commit. You know, you get a huge flock of geese, you want some portion of them to be landed or very close to landing when you call the shot. That's really what I'm there for. I like to eat snow goose meat, I like to shoot a lot of geese, but it's really, you know, this day wasn't one of those days where we ended up with a whole pile of birds at the end of the hunt. Well, we had a nice hunt, we had several groups of birds working close. We got to put a few people who hadn't done this before, got to let them see what that experience is all about, of laying out in the decoys, seeing thousands of geese circling overhead and finishing in the decoys. And to me, that's what it's all about. And if you can shoot a bunch of birds on top of that, then all the better. Rabbit hunting ranks pretty low amongst hunters now. Probably only like 4% or less usually go rabbit hunting. It's just not as popular as it used to be. In Arkansas, 85% of the land or more is privately owned. So the days of just kind of seeing a nice little place to hunt and getting out and just hunting it, I mean, it was just kind of common practice back in the day. Now you really can't do that anymore. And sometimes I think about, man, you know, with the challenge and all my other pursuits, maybe I'll give it up. But then it's just that rabbit, man, coming down the turnpike just at full bore. I mean, full speed, and the dogs barking, coming on you like a Category 5 hurricane, man. And it's just that pressure, that feeling of all that kind of coming down the turnpike at one time. This makes me love it, and I just can't hardly give it up. Had the opportunity to raise several pretty good beagles over the years, man, and it's just an amazing dog that wants to run and bark at anything that's running from it, and that just makes it a lot of fun. And I wouldn't go without the dogs. I'm not interested. So you got to have some pretty good dense cover for a rabbit to get in and hold up, because they only got one strategy, and that's to run and get in the cover. Usually brush tops that really kind of conceal not just the tree laying down, but something that he can get up in and hold and just kind of, you know, hope for the best. We're undertaking some projects to try to make that happen on some of our wildlife management areas, but as far as having good heavy cover in open grassy areas, man, it's really kind of tough to come by. Our WMAs, we have several, like Prairie Bayou, for instance. Succession has taken place. I mean, it started off as being very grassy, very open, then sweet gums start to invade, and then saltbush kind of comes in there, and that starts to make the ground pretty clear as those trees get older. We've gone in there with a track hoe, essentially, and just snatched them up. And some of them we laid down to make heavy cover environments for rabbits. So those are some of the practice, along with just bush hogging strips through there. Well, they'll always have some young, tender vegetation.
Come on, yeah, get it.
When everything comes together to make rabbit populations take off, man, it seems like it's one in every bunch of grass. Every brush pile that I kick, you know, 2 or 3 rabbits even shoot out. And man, when it's like that, man, you just hear shotgun blast across the whole hunting party. Everybody smiling and giggling and thinking about the fun time that we had. Man, it's worth that. So those hunts make up for all the ones that are, you know, where, man, I don't do so well, you know. I mean, it's enough to go, but I don't do so well. But those hunts where you really do hit that bumper crop, when you hit that rabbit peak that's kind of getting high, man, it's a lot of fun and definitely worth it. People talk to me about, you know, what does rabbit taste like, especially people that didn't grow up eating it. I grew up eating it. It was one of my favorite traditions, especially around the holidays, to have rabbit and gravy and biscuits. I mean, that was just a staple. It's good to have that on the table after a day's hunt, because it's, man, those briars are thick, and I walk a lot of miles to kind of put some rabbits on the table. So, man, getting them on the table certainly makes it worth going hunting.
Arkansas Wildlife is brought to you in part by the Arkansas Game and Fish Foundation. Support wildlife and conservation education in the natural state. Become a member today.
Hey, we're at Maddie's place with chef and owner Brian Deloney, and he's gonna fix some rabbit and dumplings for us today. I'm gonna get out of the way, Brian, let you work your magic.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right. Okay, guys, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start out with braising the actual rabbit pieces themselves. A method that keeps the meat nice, moist. Basically, we're gonna season up all your rabbit, salt, pepper, little Creole seasoning. And then we're gonna dredge it real good into seasoned flour. Get all the different pieces. When you're braising, this is kind of a way of keeping different sized portions of meat cooking at the same temperature, which also imparts the flavor into the rabbit itself. Good and coated. This will also help thicken up your stock as you're cooking. Then we're going to go into a pan, clarified butter. Let that get good and hot. In with the rabbit meat. Just like to add a little fresh thyme in there. Start to get a little brown, flip everything over. And that thyme in that butter is just making that butter that much more flavorful. Releasing the oils out of that fresh thyme just gives another unique flavor to the dish. Thyme's probably one of my favorite ingredients to use, and not a lot of people really get into it. They can't detect it, but it's in there. I don't know if you can hear it, but that time's crackling. I'm releasing all its oils, just imparting that great flavor in there. Now we're just going to go in with enough stock just to cover it. Then we're going to go into the oven, like I said, roughly an hour, hour and a half. Boom. All right. Okay. These are actually homemade dumplings we make here. Brittany, my pastry chef, makes them. We do them for our chicken and dumplings or our rabbit dumplings. These are excellent homemade dumplings that fluff up, lots of texture to them. Now we're going to assemble the product. Again, a little more clarified butter. We're going to go into a little bit of Trinity, which is bell peppers, onions, celery, known as the Cajun mirepoix. Sweat that out till it's nice and translucent. Going with a little bit of crushed tomatoes. This is the braised rabbit, broken down in nice bite-sized pieces. Get this going. Again, a little more seasoning. It's all about seasoning in layers. So the final product gives you depth and flavor. I use my own Creole seasoning that I have made for me. It's my recipe that a local place out of Benton blends for me. Let that get going. All right, I'm gonna add a splash of brandy. Adds a nice little smoothness, kind of a sweetness to the dish itself. And of course it's flaming up because it's burning off the alcohol. You're not looking for the alcohol, you're looking for the flavor of the liqueur. Okay? Then with a little more stock. Okay? Just gonna let that simmer down a couple, 2-3 minutes. Add in a pat of butter or two just for that smoothness. Check our dumplings are boiling away. So nice and fluffy those guys got. That's homemade. As we're simmering it, I like to throw a couple of dumplings in there. That starch in that dumpling is going to help thicken it up, make it a nice rich gravy is what you're looking for in the end. Let that simmer just a couple minutes. Okay, after simmering, you see how that's kind of tightening itself back up on itself. Got all the chicken, all your vegetables, nice dumplings, and that's our finished product. Nice rabbit and dumplings. So good on a nice cold day. I like to just top mine. A little bit of green onions. A little bit of Creole seasoning on there just for extra flavor. And there you have it, rabbit and dumplings.
All right, I know it's going to be good because I've had it here before, but let's have this that I actually got to watch being made. Get a dumpling, get some rabbit. Oh man, good stuff.
That's right.
Brian, thank you so much.
My
man.
pleasure, my pleasure. It's good to see everybody.
Rabbit and dumplings at Maddie's place. Compliments of Brian Deloney.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Special thanks to Brian Deloney and his staff over at Maddie's place for fixing us up some delicious rabbit, and thanks to all the folks who have helped us out with this first season of Arkansas Wildlife. This is our final new episode of the season, but we will be re-airing these 13 episodes over the next 3 months, and then we'll be coming back in April with an all-new spring and summer season of Arkansas Wildlife. But right now, it's time to make somebody a winner, and this year's winner of the 2016 Grand Prize is Joseph Upton of Houston, Arkansas. Congratulations, Joseph. You've just won a lifetime hunting and fishing license provided by Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas and $1,000 in sporting good gift cards provided by the Arkansas Game and Fish Foundation. I want to say thanks to the Foundation and Electric Cooperatives for helping out with the grand prize this year, and to all of our sponsors for making the 2016 fall and winter season of Arkansas Wildlife a possibility. Most importantly, I want to say thanks to you, the viewers, for tuning in to Arkansas Wildlife. We'll see you next time.